Production support for the weekly special is provided by WTIU members. Thank you.
We celebrate Hoosiers at Work tonight and explore what motivates us in the work we do. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources battles the invasion of a foreign species of fish. Inmates help in the rehabilitation of retired racehorses in Putnam County. We go behind the scenes of a pipe organ restoration. Plus, what's the good of working if you can't buy some fun new toys? All that and the Singing Hoosiers perform right now on the weekly special.
Hi, and welcome to the weekly special. I'm Joe Wren.
And I'm Pam Thrash.
Pam, we're working hard tonight too. The show is packed, so let's get started.
Okay.
We've been hearing about it for a few months now, the invasion of Asian carp into Indiana waterways. This latest problem with an invasive species is of major concern for scientists and anglers alike.
Asian carp are very big, very ugly fish. But what is the best way to know that you've seen one? They're pretty much the only fish you'll see jumping clear out of local waters. Chris Amstutz owns White River Bait and Tackle in the small town of Williams. He says he's seen quite a few Asian carp over the past 15 years.
Most fish just clear the water just enough to, the whole fish usually doesn't even come plumb out of the water. But an Asian carp, he may be 8 or 10 foot in the air when he's at his highest.
That can be problematic for boaters, especially if the fish look like the 46-pound Asian carp Amstutz has mounted in his shop. Not all of the fish are as big as the one on Amstutz's wall, but researchers say many are still whoppers, often 10 to 15 pounds apiece. But injuries are not the only worry for officials. Asian carp eat at the bottom of the food chain their entire lives. This causes them to outcompete small native fish, leaving a shortage of food for larger fish. Purdue University aquatic ecology professor Ruben Goforth is in charge of a study to help understand Asian carp movement patterns, including implanting transmitters in 100 Asian carp in the Wabash River around Lafayette. Stationary receivers sit on the river bottom and keep track of which marked fish are in which areas. Boat crews also take manual receivers out almost every day. When the machine makes a sound, it means one of the 100 Asian carp is within about a football field's length away. But that's not the only Asian carp study Goforth is working on. He is also looking at ways to disrupt the early life cycle of the fish.
We are putting eggs in aquariums that have electrical fields, and so we can create specific types of electrical fields to try to see if we can cause the eggs to cease their development or die, and that's also true for the larvae.
If both studies are successful, tracking the Asian carp movement patterns will help show where to place these electric fields. Even though carp research may be in the early stages, the Department of Natural Resources is worried that people will mistakenly introduce Asian carp to Lake Monroe. That would disrupt the ecosystem of the lake and allow them to continue to spread upstream through other tributaries. DNR fisheries biologist Dave Kataka says if the fish get into the lake, it'll be very difficult to get rid of them.
Pretty much anything that gets in the reservoir is going to stay there because there's no real management action that we can use on the lake. You know, it's the primary water supply for Bloomington, so a chemical eradication of a fish is out of the question. You can't drain it and start over again because then Bloomington won't have any water. And, and it's just such a large resource. There's very little you can do other than educate and prevent people from moving them.
There are also efforts to use the unwanted fish commercially. Purdue's Ruben Goforth says there are restaurants along the Mississippi River that serve Asian carp, only with a more appetizing name, silverfin. He says that there is even a possibility of creating an export market for the fish.
There also are efforts to collect the carp here, flash freeze them, and then ship them to China, where there actually are a delicacy. But ironically, the fish are becoming extremely endangered in their native ecosystems in China.
Will local fishers listen to China and try them out? Chris Amstutz says he might.
Oh, I would try one if I ever run out of catfish. I would try an Asian carp. They don't look like they're bad eating. I'd say they ought to be pretty good eating.
But do they really taste good? DNR biologist Kataka says they do.
The fish that we caught last year, we actually flayed them out and ate them just to see, what the table value of this fish was. And besides that they have bones in weird places, they were actually pretty good.
There are currently other studies in the works to try to find more uses for what Professor Goforth describes as an exceedingly ugly fish.
Keep up to date about the invasion of Asian carp at the Indiana DNR website, where you can find the latest news on efforts to monitor the fish and their movements. And now we go from fish to horses.
That's right. The Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation is the largest equine rescue of its kind and is devoted to the rehabilitation and retraining of thoroughbred racehorses no longer able to compete on the track. One of their retraining farms near the Putnam Correctional Facility began accepting horses 4 years ago. This farm offers vocational training and equine studies for inmates at the correctional facility while providing supervised care to the retired horses.
When this facility started, this was basically an old dairy barn. They took it all down, cleaned the land, put all new fencing up. They built the barns. They did every bit of the work here. Every nail in this barn is done by one of the offenders.
But it seems as though it's the interaction with the horses themselves that has the greatest impact on the inmates.
These guys come in and they're pretty gruff and rough, and by the time they complete 1,000 hours in this program, they change immensely. They go from being scared of the horses to being able to handle them. It's just amazing to see the evolution.
I've been around horses on and off my whole life, and I just thought that when they offered this program, I'd try to get to be part of it because I loved animals.
We started with 6 horses, and we have 38 right now. Qualifications for them to come into this program have to be Indiana, either born or raced at one of the 2 tracks, and then we can take them in.
We get 8 to 10 offenders generally working in the program. Those offenders learn how to work around the horses. They get to learn how to identify issues with the horses and some equine management. They also can earn a time cut by completing the program and shorten their sentence.
One of the main parts of it was this time cut program. Also, to be able to work with the animals. I love working with animals, and I believe that it'll be very beneficial for when I get out.
The program itself, in order for the time cut to go through, has a certain number of hours that they must complete and testing that they have to do.
I haven't done too much good in my life, and coming out here helping one of these horses, it just makes me feel good about myself.
One of the specific benefits of this program is it's in a specific field. So they can go out and know where to look for the job that relates to what they've learned here.
When you first come out here, you can tell that they're a little shaky with you, but after time goes by and things get going, you can feel them kind of bond with you, and you feel that bond with them.
I think the most of their education comes from the hands-on after they learn the book part of it.
We had a horse that ruptured an artery, and just from my classwork and learning all the first aid to do with it, I was able to take care of it right there on the spot, and that day made me feel the best that I ever felt.
They learned that those horses depend on them, and I think that it also, twofold, it also helps them fill the voids that maybe they've lost, connection with family members or children.
It's made me a lot more responsible. It's made me really think that there's a lot more than what I thought about before on the streets. Family, getting there, raising my children and things like that.
I would like to see people understand that this facility doesn't just take the old and the lame. We get horses that are very young. We get 3-year-olds even, and that are just great horses, viable for a second career.
Once a horse has been rehabilitated and retrained, where did they go?
We go through an adoption process. If at any time those adopters decide, or are unable, I should say, to take care of those horses for whatever reason, we step back in and can take those horses back. So we're guaranteeing those horses to have the rest of their life lived in dignity.
While the success of the first 4 years speaks well of the program, what lies ahead for its future?
I think the facility, as well as TRF, would like the program to be able to grow increase the number of horses that they receive in service. This program is funded totally on its own. The state does not provide any funds for it.
Every penny that goes into this program is by charity. And you know, I just would like to see that part of it, the whole fundraising part of it, to grow and be expanded.
The Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and the Putnamville Correctional Facility have created a place that offers a humane alternative to the dire possibilities that have long faced a great majority of ex-racers: neglect, abuse, and slaughter.
The majority of these horses would not be here today. They would have ended up in a slaughterhouse. A few of them have been rescued from a slaughterhouse. Creek Code, he was one of the first 6. He was taken out of the kill pen. This horse had won his owners over $275,000, and he was rescued out of a kill pen.
So the question seems quite obvious. Who gets more out of the program, the inmates or the horses? Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Around Christmas time, I got a birthday card from this offender, and I'm like, well, it's not my birthday. Why would somebody send a birthday card? And then I opened it and was looking at it, and it was a birthday card to one of the horses. And it was to No Guts, No Glory, and it was from this offender. Be sure to tell Barb to give you an extra scoop of grain for your birthday. And so they do stay attached.
It gives me something to look forward to every day. I used to just lay around and I didn't really care if I woke up or not. Now I wake up every morning happy to come see the horses.
Like I said, I love animals, and so I know it's going to be hard leaving them, and I already plan on coming back and checking them out and see how they're doing.
The horses are getting a second chance, and I'm getting a second chance too to do something good for the community, do something good for myself.
Learn more about the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and learn how you can help support their efforts at trfinc.org. Next up in our explorations of Hoosiers at Work, we head to the Indiana Landmark Center.
When choosing a new home for their headquarters, it's no surprise that Indiana Landmarks would choose a building of historical importance. But when it came to restoring the 19th century Central Avenue Methodist Church in Indianapolis, it was what was inside the building that needed the most work.
This is originally the Central Avenue United Methodist Church. It was built in 1892. The organ was installed at that time. When we came to this organ in January of 2010, it was in terrible disrepair.
So Golding and Wood undertook the task of bringing this organ back to life.
We removed it in January, took it all back to our shop. The original mechanics that make the organ play, that were built by Thomas Sanborn back in 1892, those were in such bad shape we had to rebuild or make new parts to replace that.
Most of what makes the sound in the organ is located behind the case. So Phil Lehman took us on a tour for a rare view of the inside of the pipe organ chamber, with the pipes removed.
Okay. I'm standing in front of the lowest metal pipes in the organ. This is a stop called the tenaroon. Clear against the wall is that 16-foot stop. And you can see these other ones right behind me right here. This is on the grate manual and provides the lowest foundation sounds on the organ. Right behind me is one of the wind regulators that's not actually controlling sound, but so that there's a constant steady wind pressure for this chest that's behind me. The wind supply is created by a blower which is in the basement below us, and then it's fed up through this wind duct into this, and that provides all the air that's used throughout the entire instrument. Right here is the brain that controls all the organ. There's actually a microprocessor that will sit right here, and all of the miles of wiring come back into these connections right here, and this is what sends the signal to the individual magnets to actually fire and play so that the air opens and lets the air go to the pipe. So that's kind of an old and a new that get to come together. We have pipes that are actually laying on their sides. This is part of the 16-foot open diapason, and this actually kind of produces a set of stairs to get down into the organ chamber. We're actually up in the organ chamber right now. We're standing on the chest in the grate, and if you look out, you can actually see what the room looks like from up in the organ chamber. This is a site you won't get to see again because actually right in front of us will be a whole wall of pipes or a set of pipes. I'll let you pan down here. We're standing on top of the great chest, and this is where the pipes will actually sit. So this is the hole that actually provides the wind for the pipe itself.
Traditionally, the main role of the pipe organ has been to lead a church congregation in song. This pipe organ will be given a new life with a different role, a concert organ in what used to be a church.
We are in what will be the Cook Grand Theater, which is part of the Indiana Landmarks Center. This was originally the Central Avenue United Methodist Church. The congregation dwindled in size as people moved out into the suburbs and things like that, and this building had kind of fallen into disrepair. Indiana Landmarks took possession of the building. The part that was the sanctuary before, which has this organ in it, is now going to become a concert hall, place for lectures and for weddings.
And when the renovated building was finished, people streamed in all day to witness the unveiling of this Indiana landmark building and its historic Sanborn organ.
It's beautiful music. It's an instrument that has a wide range of volumes and colors and expression that you can do with it. It will provide that community of sound with all these lovely things that you see around it, and then this fine organ that'll be kind of the keystone of the room.
For a calendar of events, including upcoming opportunities to experience the organ in person, visit Indiana Landmarks at indianalandmarks.org. Now, over to Pam.
Thanks, Joe. In the booth with us today, we have Dr. Michael Schwarzkopf, director of the IU Singing Hoosiers, and two students, Elizabeth Duff and also Jeff Waltz. Before we talk to you, we've got a clip from the spring concert. Let's take a look at it now.
Yeah, the rhythm. Forget about the worries on your mind. On your mind. Feel the beat of the rhythm of the night. Yeah, the rhythm. Forget about the worries on your mind.
When it feels like the world is on your shoulders and all of the madness has got you going crazy, it's time to get out, step out into the street where all of the action is right there at your feet. Well, I know a place where we can dance the whole night away, and it's called the Moulin Rouge.
That is wonderful. So that was the spring concert from this year. How much preparation goes into getting ready for a performance like that?
Well, a lot.
A lot.
We rehearse every day, well, every Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 4:40. And then the varsity singers, they rehearse another Tuesday and Thursday from about 4:40 to about 6:15 and a couple hours on Sunday. So there's a lot of time goes into preparing for this.
A lot of commitment. And Dr. Schwarzkopf, I've heard this is your last year before you
it is.
retire. How long have you been director of the Singing Hoosiers?
This is my 17th year.
Your 17th
and it's
year.
gone very fast.
What has been some of your most enjoyable moments of it?
Well, the enjoyable moments are working with the students.
Mhm.
I think watching this wonderful talent is just wonderful, and seeing these students grow up and mature over these 3 or 4 years they're in the group is just really exciting. But we've had some outstanding performances. We performed at Obama's, one of Obama's,
that's right.
What do I call it?
Inauguration.
Thank you. Inauguration banquets. He didn't attend, but anyway, it was very exciting for us to go there.
Absolutely.
And we performed for Netanyahu many, many years ago up in Indianapolis, and with the Cincinnati Pops Orchestra many times, and the Indianapolis Symphony several times, and we recorded with the Cincinnati Pops. So it's been a heck of a ride.
It really has. What are your plans for retirement?
Well, I'm moving to another location, and where it's a little warmer year round.
Don't blame
and,
you.
I love to do athletics. I love golf and tennis and things like that. So I will be participating in that sort of stuff. But I won't be far away.
I'm sure.
But I have a lot of loyalty and a lot of interest in what's going on here, and I have family in Columbus, and my daughter's in Indianapolis with her husband.
Okay, so you'll still have an eye out on the
Absolutely.
current Hoosiers. And who do we have with us, and what are their duties with the Singing Hoosiers?
Well, Elizabeth Duff, to my right, she is the student manager of the Singing Hoosiers, and Jeff Waltz is just a new member and a freshman this year.
Okay, now Elizabeth, I'm going to ask you, how long have you been a part of the Singing Hoosiers?
This will be my 4th year.
Your 4th year.
Been a part of it, yeah.
There's bound to be a lot of commitment, not just being a part of the Singing Hoosiers, but managing them. How do you balance that with your class load?
Actually, because I'm a senior, the amount of hours I need to take is a little bit less. Not that the classes aren't any easier, but it's just I've been able to create chunks of my day that I can just kind of get what I need to do for Singing Hoosiers done, and time for, it's just time management that I really need at this point in time, just kind of getting everything done, and so far it's been okay.
And it's worthwhile.
It's very, very worthwhile.
And Jeff, you're brand new, so what's it like so far for you?
You know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, I've only been in it for a week and a half now, but you know, the people are nice, and it's a lot of music to learn, a lot of dancing to learn, but it's going to be fun, I can tell.
I'm sure. Now, what is the audition and rehearsal process like?
Well, we have auditions the Thursday and Friday and Saturday before classes begin. They sing a couple songs for me. We do a few musical things, have them sight read a little bit, and then I narrow the group down and have callbacks. And then the next day we have our first rehearsal. So it happens pretty quick.
And what's on the horizon for the Singing Hoosiers this coming fall?
Well, October 14th and 15th, we're going to be on campus at our hall doing a concert of Cole Porter and Friends concert. Be about an hour and 15 minutes of music. And then December the 7th, we have our Chimes of Christmas concert at the IU Auditorium. It's been a wonderful thing to do. And that tickets are on sale now too for that, and that's at 7:30, not 8 o'clock for families. And then our spring concert is on March the 31st.
Okay,
and
wonderful.
Then a lot of other tours in the meantime, going out all over Indiana and some out east.
Okay, excellent. And if people want to find out more information, what's the website?
They can go to singinghoosiers.org.
Excellent.
Just that simple.
We have that on our screen too. Thank you all so much for stopping by today and talking to us, and congratulations on your 17 years.
Thank you very much.
For now, we're going to go back over to Joe.
Up next, the Chevy Volt has come to Indiana, but not because General Motors is selling the car here. While it took a long drive for its new owner to get the electric vehicle, it may take even more effort to get the technology to take hold. Here's the weekly special contributing producer Stan Jastrzebski with an examination of those consumers known as early adopters.
Chris Robb was among the first dozen people in Indiana to buy a Chevy Volt.
I'm certainly what you would call an early adopter. First in line to get an iPad, the first in line to get the iPhone, no matter which version of it. Every year they come up with a new one, I'm first in line to get that.
Robb's new car stands out. Sure, it's red and he keeps its showroom shiny, but the most notable feature might be how it sounds when it starts. If that was almost inaudible, that's the point. The battery technology which runs the Volt is first generation and subject to a limited rollout nationwide. That's why Robb had to drive 7 hours to Michigan to pick up the car. Craig Richards, the general manager at Bloomington's Curry Auto Center, says he's got about 6 people waiting to buy a Volt when he gets them in stock, but even that small demand may outstrip his supply.
In this model year, we'll probably see 3 or 4. So it's not a real high production car. You know, and I think as time goes on, if there's still the people looking for that, obviously they can up production, which they've already upped it once.
So while Chris Robb and others may exhibit high demand for the Volt, it may not be enough to influence General Motors to bring the car to Bloomington or even to Indiana any faster.
The true challenge is really how well they can attract the next tier of individuals, not just those first movers, but everyday individuals that might actually buy this car as their first car and use it for their regular commutes and integrate it, fold it into their regular daily life patterns.
For his part, Robb says he's trying to be an opinion leader, almost to the point of annoyance.
My friends are telling me that I've been a little bit too overzealous in selling it. So I've definitely been talking it up and showing it off to friends, giving them rides, letting them take a drive.
Among unpaid advocates of a product, that level of effort is somewhat rare, says DePauw University psychology professor Sharmin Tungus.
They don't stand to economically gain from speaking well of the product, and so people trust that information. It's word of mouth. It's much more powerful as a source of information than any information that comes directly from a marketer or an advertiser. There's a lot of intrinsic risk involved in being an early adopter, and maybe that adds to the level of excitement that early adopters have, that they know that they're the first to embark upon what might be a risky adventure.
But the risk to expand electric vehicle technology lies not only with users, but with the areas in which they live. SPIA professor Sonia Carley says that means cities have to have an electric vehicle plan.
It's not just the consumer willingness to pay, although that's a big factor. It's also the regulatory environment and the city's willingness to offer incentives, a variety of forms, such as financial incentives or other kinds of perks, such as parking spaces or HOV lanes. And without those kinds of incentives, giving money, let's say, to public charging infrastructure or to residential charging infrastructure, we're not going to attract the market.
But electric vehicles are not a significant part of the city of Bloomington's current plans.
Well, it's certainly on the radar. We want to make electric vehicles a possibility, but given our limited resources, it just hasn't, and given the limits, the limited number of inquiries we've gotten, it just hasn't been a big priority yet.
And despite the city's green reputation, Bauer says the state's preferred source of electricity may negate even the best intentions when it comes to reducing vehicle emissions by buying an electric car.
95% of our electricity comes from coal, and there have been studies that show that the emissions from electric cars are actually not better if the electricity source is solely coal.
So the city needs a plan, Chris Robb's friends need test drives, and General Motors needs to make the Volt more available before Bloomington is likely to see many more of the plug-in vehicles on the road. The one constant among the many parties in the discussion is that the necessary convergence will happen in time. How much time is anyone's guess.
And remember to visit our website, theweeklyspecial.org, for show info and to leak over to our Facebook page.
Good night, everybody.
Production support for The Weekly Special is provided by WTIU members. Thank you.